I want to ask you where you are and what you're doing at the beginning. And then I want to talk about your birth and your early life. Then I want to talk about the orphanage. Then I want to talk about the first adoption.
Mm-hmm.
Then I want to talk about the second adoption. Then I want to talk about the family life with them. Then I want to talk about, the orphanage, I guess your friends at the orphanage. Then after the family life and the second adoption, I want to talk about, I guess, the family life and life in the US.
Okay.
And then finally we can talk about like reconnection or reconnecting with your biological family and your intentions and plans for the future.
Okay.
I think that's decent, right?
Yeah, hopefully I can yell it.
Well, you should be able to. It's your story.
Yeah.
But I think oh my god, I'm wearing these. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm wearing these clear braces.
Oh, that's awesome. I used to have those. I need to get. Well, I mean, aren't they help you like adjust like that, like adjust your teeth, like keep it? Did you wear braces before?
I did the metal ones, and they were terrible.
Yeah, I remember that too. I don't know when.
Oh god.
14 years old, and then they gave me the clear ones to keep it like still like very balanced. So they don't have to like adjust. Yeah, so those are actually really cool. But then it sounds like you are like tongue thrust because of the brace you have in your teeth. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I feel like I don't know whether I should take them out now or just go through the whole thing and hope that I sound like correct.
like you're actually sounding clear to me.
Okay.
So,
well, if that's the case, then we can just start. So anyway, where are you based right now, and what do you do?
So I am living right now in Russia, and I'm living with my Russian family in Vladimir. And then I actually go to Moscow and work there with a Russian family, and I speak English to them. And we get to do a lot of like fun things, like in the family. I'm not like a nanny. I'm like more of like a mentor. We travel together. Like for instance, actually tomorrow I'm going to Sochi with a boy, and we're going to Juventus tournaments. So those are fun things we get to do, and I just be like a big sister and a big to little kids. And then I just travel all over Russia area. At first I thought Russia's not it's beautiful. It's dang it, work is calling me actually. But I mean, first I didn't think Russia was a very beautiful country, but there's so many locations that you can go to that's just magnificent. The architecture, the history, and the people. It's pretty amazing to be in Russia right now. I'm very grateful for that.
I wanted to bring you on the podcast because I'm obviously doing this series. It's called Diary of a Woman. It's stories of women from all over the world. And we cover so many different unique views and kind of perspectives on life from the eyes of women. Your story is really, really fascinating and actually tragic, really is. And obviously now you're fine, you're well, you're healthy, and you're happy, it seems. So that's great. But It hasn't always been that way. And that's why I wanted to get you on the show. So maybe what we can do for the listeners is go through, chronologically what happened to you so that they get a really good idea of the life that you've lived so far. Can you tell me about the beginning? So what happened to you from birth, pretty much exactly from birth, and then, everything that happened in your early life beyond that?
Yes, I was born in March, and I lived for 5 years. At the beginning of my 5 years, I lived actually in the hospital. And that's a question, is why was I living in a hospital for 5 years? But we have an assumption why. We have an idea why. But when I was, 2 years old, I had surgeries in my stomach. So in those 5 years, I had 3 surgeries in my stomach. First surgery, I had infection. And second surgery was also infection. And finally, the third, they finally fixed that. And I remember being in the hospital and always in a dark room. Yeah, and there were about, I would say, like eight babies. I remember, I was always sleeping a lot. But when I used to wake up, I would like scream, go crazy, because I wouldn't understand why was I tied to like the crib. Yeah, like I was tied to.
You were tied to the crib, right?
Like my legs were tied, and so I would scream. I mean, of course, waking up and not understanding what the heck is happening to you. But I do remember, like my nurse told me, at 2 years old, somehow I woke up during maybe the middle of like the surgery, but nobody was there, and yeah, like kind of like picked up my head a little bit, and I saw like my abdominal was open, and I had this orange liquid around this open wound, and for some reason I don't know, I didn't freak out. I thought it was really cool. That's why, like now, I love anatomy. I love everything about humans' body and brain and how this works. Uh, for some reason, it's not scary for me. And then I just went back to sleep, um, and how because I asked my niece like, "What was this?" And she explained to me, "You in the middle of the surgery." So
How old were you around about that time?
I think she said I was 2.5 years old. You know, oh
Wow.
that yeah. So and then she said I had surgery when I was 3 years old. But I don't remember that because I was always like sleeping. And they would put anesthesia, and then we have like this huge needles, and it's like a metal one, and they jammed it into your booty like in the old days. Any kind of shots, they would always jam it in your booty.
So let me just recap for everyone listening. You had been in a hospital having surgeries since you were born up until how old?
Until like 3 years old. Yeah.
And you never saw your family.
No,
You
I
never saw
didn't.
outside. You were chained to the bed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I didn't know there's outside. There's another side of the world. Every time I woke up, I was always like screaming, yelling. And my nurse said, Svetlana, be smart about it. If you want to be awake and be aware of things, what's going on, wake up. And when you wake up, be very, very quiet. So I would wake up and not freak out and just start observing things. Yeah, and then when a different nurse would be coming, like there were nurses were coming all the time and doctors coming all the time, and I would always pretend like I'm sleeping. I would close my eyes, and because I didn't want a shot, to put me to sleep. And if I made, noises like, oh, hey, so I was very, very cautious in how, when people approached to our room. I only made sounds when I don't remember, I don't know why I can't remember her name, but she was a little bit heavy side, nurse. And one thing I do remember, she always like rubbed her hands on my head, and
Huh.
just that touch of love, a simple one. I think that's probably why. Also, like very loving. And
So you were basically you were taken. How do you understand it now? What happened to you? Like you were taken from your family when you were born?
yeah, so when my Russian mom, was 6 months pregnant with me, doctors said like you really need to do an abortion because this child that you're going to give birth to is very deformed, like it's going to be deformed. Because I was actually born with Beckman-Whitehead syndrome. It's where like all your organs were out. That's why I had stomach surgery because all my organs were out. Yeah, and my mom said, no, I'm not going to have abortion. She's moving in my body. How can I, kill this living child? And so she's like, I'm just going to go for, giving birth. And once she gave birth to me, she actually stayed in the hospital for a month, and they took me away from her and from my dad. And I was sent to ICU. And they said like, oh no, sorry, your child is going to be dead in a month. Might as well like sign the documents that you are giving up a child because she's going to be dead. My mom and my dad, I read the whole list of all the problems that I had at birth. They did sign a paper like saying like we're giving up the child because they said she's going to be dead. She's not going to survive. After a month, my mom and my auntie came to the hospital to check the status, like, am I dead or not? And they're like, "Yep, she is dead." And then my mom, said, "Can I see it? Can I see my child?" And all the doctors and nurses like chained each other's arms, not allowing them to even come into like to the hospital rooms and to like a hospital like hallway. They didn't allow. They kicked them out of the hospital.
I assume that's because your mom was very adamant that she wanted to see you, and even if they said that you were dead, she still wanted to push through, and that's why they kind of tried to stop her physically.
Yeah, exactly. And then also before when they brought the documents to take me, this doctor said like, yeah, she's gonna be dead. And my mom said, then just give me this child. Like, if she's gonna die at home, that will be okay for us. But I need this child. So even my mom was even ready to deal with whatever tragedy she was going to face in the beginning of my life. But they didn't allow to take. Those times, there was no rules and regulations to have the rights to take a child if a child is sick.
And obviously you're not dead, and obviously there's not anything visibly wrong with you. So they were pretty much lying out of their teeth. And
Mhm.
this kind of thing, I don't think. Well, when we first talked, I didn't even know that this kind of existed, and I'm very naive with that because I live in a very, developed nation, and I live in a kind of a bubble where we don't see this kind of thing happen. I imagine a lot of people listening to this are in a similar situation. So, how widespread is this problem of abduction of children in hospitals, or at least back when you were born? How common was that?
Very, very common because, I've done actually searches for adopted children from Kazakhstan, from Russia. Yeah, like I found my friend's biological parents, and they also thought she was dead, but actually she was taken away from her parents. And not only that, her parents lived like a 10-minute drive from the orphanage, and we always passed by it. So that just like that's when I stopped doing searches for a biological family. That just killed me after this, because when you do those type of searches, there's always some kind of tragedy, and psychologically, it's really really hard to give that story to an adoptee and then to the biological family, and just help them with just balancing with this huge opening scene of what it's been a secret. So for my friend, yeah, her parents were living very close to the orphanage, and once we found her parents, like her mom, we found her when she had a cancer, and then she died. It was just heartbreaking for me. And this child, my friend, is just marvelous. She's just so loving. She's so resilient. She also had like a lot of difficulties, and how she's thriving her life right now, it's beyond amazing.
Do you know her from the your upbringing? Like, I mean, did you meet her in the
In the
in
orphanage,
the
in
in the orphanage? Well,
1998. Right?
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get to that because that's another chapter of your life, let's say. Actually, I hope people listen to this whole episode because it's so insane. The kind of thing that happened to you. You really couldn't write this if you tried. So,
Yeah, I mean, that was a time when SSR broke and Kazakhstan became an independent country. They struggled with the economy. And so doctors didn't make a lot of money. A lot of people didn't make a lot of money, not just doctors. So how did doctors able to make a lot of money? They would steal children from, the parents and lie to them that they are dead, and they would sell them to people who want to adopt children, or doing experiment too. Right now, of course, is nowhere else written that like it has happened. It has happened. There has been experiments on children in early 90s, and I'm sure in 80s too, because they made money. So that's how doctors make money, is through experiment on children or getting them adopted by strangers. But yeah, the agencies were very hungry about hungry, given because they also you are working with agencies there, then you're working with court people, then yeah. So um,
do you have any idea how much money it costs to adopt?
so it also depends on an agency and the court, who you go through. I would just say, an average cost, I would say 30,000 to 50,000 to give the child away, which is a lot of money at that time in early 80s and 90s. It's not only, it happened in Russia, Romania, excuse me, Romania, Ukraine, Moldova, Lithuania, you just name it, a lot of Eastern European countries.
So it's around about like 30 to 50,000 US dollars at that time,
Hmm.
which is a lot of money, and it's even a lot of money today. But it's like I can understand how yeah, when you have a failing economy,
Yeah.
that this kind of thing could. But it's just really the worst kind of crime because
And
you
I'm living with it, and
live.
I'm very afraid to say those things because of what I want to do. Help others, and have to always be careful too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I just thought about it this morning. It is the worst kind of crime because you've literally stole someone from their parents, and they've never seen you, or they've never really seen you. And until you're able to hopefully, not always, reconnect with them. And like you said, with the case of your friend, reconnecting with them, and then one of them passing away, that's like the ultimate kick in the teeth
Hmm.
because you feel like you have this chance again, and then they're gone.
Hmm.
And it's like, what else is there apart from anger? I mean, that must be bitter. That must be the worst kind of bitter.
Yeah, but she is, yeah, dealt with it very very well. I mean, she's not the type of person who would run away from issues. She actually just worked really hard at going through that pain that she experienced. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So,
Let's go back to the hospital if you don't mind and just talk about that for a while. So, did you did you ever? know that it was wrong that you were tied to the bed, or was that just normal life for you? Did you never even question it?
Yeah, maybe in the beginning, sure, I just stayed calm. But then I started to understand that this is a very strange. Why my legs are tied up? Why my arms are tied and I couldn't move? Um, and I understood it why because yeah, because the doctors wanted to do a couple of things too. Because there's
Right.
always doctors coming to different children all the time.
Mhm.
So
What about the vision outside? Like, I want to know what that was like because obviously that must be crazy to experience, like for the first time, to see all of that stuff. And you remember it really vividly. Do you remember what the yellow thing was that you're obsessed with? I'm just curious.
yeah, well, obsessed is flowers. And I think those what do you call it? Not, there were dandelions too.
Sunflower,
Not sunflowers. Those
daffodils, maybe.
maybe yes, yes. And actually, I used to eat them when I was a child. So yeah, those are yellow flowers. And yeah, so and the green part was, of course, it was grass. And so when we were outside, and then we had to go back inside, and the nurse, calm us all down. And then I was wanting to ask her a question. What is this? Like, what did I just see? And she's like, "This is the world you live in." And I'm like, "What? And why? Why are you not bringing us there?" She's like, "You can't. You are very weak." And she would always say, like, "You're weak. You're weak."
Mm,
And so she explained to me this bright light that you saw is sun. This blue. It's the sky. So that's how she started to. I was very grateful that I started to speak actually earlier in the situation that I'm in because there it's like you lay there like a vegetable. I mean, I remember my booty always like was hurting because I was always constantly on the bed. And so other kids, I remember seeing they had like red patches on the booty, on the spine, on the legs because they would just sleep. Like they just made them lay in bed the whole time. So you tend to develop not so much a rash, but like a bed. This there's a term for it, special that,
right.
and that was actually scary because I saw that in little babies. Um,
Wow.
and
Did you learn how to speak by yourself, or did
no, not
people
really
teach you?
my nurse through my. She would always talk to me. It didn't matter if I understood her or not. She always would, just talk to me and just tell me things, and I'll just listen. And then I started to I guess like pick some words up. And then I said, I asked why, how long I'm going to be in this room. I want to get out of there. And can I go to, a different room where there's, windows? Because she explained to me what are windows. I didn't know. I didn't know what windows were. She's like, windows is a clear glass. You can see through things and you can see outside if you want. And she's like, okay, so, let me try to see if I can, move you to a different room. But you really have to behave, because sometimes be tied up, and the doctors would come, and I'll start like shaking, like because I knew there's like a huge needle coming to me.
So they would just stab you with a needle if you were being naughty, let's say, quote unquote.
Um, I mean, I won't say not naughty because I wasn't screaming, I wasn't causing any problems. No, it was a time when they would just come and because they would know when the anesthesia will wear off, and so they would come the time when it's wearing off. They would give you a needle. Give
Really? So they would just keep you under anesthesia?
Yes, constantly. I would, yeah, that's why.
What? That is crazy.
Yeah, that's why nowadays I like to be conscious on like my surgeries and
What?
everything.
So how many times did you get like anesthesia, let's say in a day or in a week?
I mean, I would sleep weeks and months. I mean, and I was always tied to these tubes, and even as a child, yeah, that's why. Oh, that's why I was always tied because I would always rip it off. I would always rip it off, even when I was when I was a little girl. From birth, I always ripped like all these tubes in my body.
The tubes were going in your mouth,
Yeah,
or they were?
and yeah, like and then I don't ever remember they were feeding us. The only time I started to remember I was being fed was when I was 4 years old. I was moved up to a different floor. Oh my goodness! Because I remember I freaked out. What is that? It was like the Russian tiny noodles with a little like small amount of like chicken around it. It's like a chicken soup kind of thing.
And that was the first time that you'd actually seen food to
Yeah,
eat,
yeah,
to consume.
yeah.
So you're being fed with a tube, basically.
That yeah. I mean, I'm sure maybe I was fed, but I don't remember. I just remember how I went crazy. They brought a plate of soup and like bread. Even nowadays, I would always eat the soup really quickly, and the bread would be the last one. And we would always play. But then there were like adults, like grown-ups, would come to our room, and they're like, "Oh, Svetushka, Svetushka, come over here. I'm your mother." or I'm your auntie, whatever. Let's say, and I would always crawl underneath my bed and start like going crazy because a stranger comes and says, Svetoshka, Svetoshka, give me a hug. I want to take you home. I would panic. I would start go like a wild animal underneath my bed. Also purposely so they don't take me because I don't understand what's happening. This whole process is, and I didn't feel comfortable.
So this started happening to you like pretty abruptly.
Yeah,
All of a sudden,
yeah.
there were people that were like wanting to take you.
Yes. And then at 5 years old, I was moved to another side of the hospital. And that was actually literally closer to the window. But there were a lot of kids, actually. It was a huge room.
How many kids do you think there were in these, like, just out of your estimation? How many kids do you think there were in these hospitals?
They would keep, kids, for a long, long time. I mean, for me, it was 5 years. I would say, more than 50. But I can't say if it's
Right.
Yeah, more than 50.
And they were all taken, do you think? They were all taken from birth?
I don't know. I don't know the situation. I can't. But the kids that I have seen in the hospital all end up in that orphanage. So, yeah.
So I would imagine that it's probably true that because of the situation where you're always being anesthetized and you're always tied to a bed, I would imagine it's probably happening to the other kids too.
Yeah.
In which case, that's insane. That's actually literally insane what's happening. Like they're stealing these babies and they're selling them.
Yeah.
I can't.
I'm not sure if it's happening now, but hopefully it's not. But I would not mistaken if it's still happening.
So you've never heard of this mentioned? You've never seen anyone else kind of bring this kind of practice to light? Because this is the first time I'm hearing about it. When I met you, I'm just wondering, what's your experience with it? Have you looked into it? Did you find anything?
I have looked into a little bit. Couldn't find it. Because I wanted to find it. I searched it in Russian and I searched it in English. Well, first of all, in English you wouldn't find any those types of information because it would have been red flag for the United States, and they would try to figure out how is that possible. So, in Russian website, there's no such a thing. I mean, if it was written, it would be actually erased and on the website because it's national. I think pretty soon I want to start speaking up in public and figure out who else had this happen to.
Well, we'll get to that for sure. So when did your hospital time come to an end, and what happened next for you?
When I was 5 years old, and I was surrounded by all these kids, and we were watching TV, or we always playing checkers, or cards. And I do remember all the kids were strolling this IV. I mean, even me, I had to always go with an IV stroller and to whenever
rolling it around behind you.
Yeah, and at a certain time you had to take the pills, and then we had breakfast, lunch and dinner. Sometimes we would have an open area and closer to the TV area or in the rooms. So I would try to behave, but there were a couple of times they took me from this room because I was really, really sick of how they were just stabbing me with a needle still at 5 years old. So when
did you have birthdays? Did you ever celebrate anything in the hospital?
I didn't know what it was. What is birthday? And I didn't know what it was birth. I don't know.
So that's just an estimate then. You're estimating you were around about 5 years old.
Yeah. They would tell you, you're 5 years old, but they didn't tell you it's your birthday. Let's have a cake. And no, that's not such a thing as that.
Do you know your birthday?
Huh?
Do you know your birthday?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I actually knew my birthday once I got into the orphanage, a different type of orphanage. So when so in 1996, is it 1996? Yes. Around fall, I remember there were two officers coming to the hospital and wanting to take me, and they give me the documents with these officers, and they were
officers, police officers, or
police
officers.
Yeah, police officers.
Why?
I didn't have. I don't know. There were police officers took me, but the first time when they tried to take me, it didn't happen really well, and nothing it wasn't successful for them. But for me, it was because first of all, I didn't want to get out of the hospital because that was the only place I knew it was a home. I thought this is a home. And they said, yeah, you're going to the orphanage. First of all, I didn't understand what the orphanage was. What is it? And so once they gave me documents to, take it with officers, I ripped them. I ripped my documents because I was really angry. And I thought like maybe that would stop them. So they brought me to the orphanage, and I was hysterically crying because I didn't understand what it is. So I think we had like nine beds there.
Did they accept you? Was it hard to integrate? Like,
No, it wasn't hard. I mean, once Vika was just so loving. She was like my sister. Like we were like peas in a pod. I'm not kidding. We did everything together. And Vika was crippled. She walked really crippled, and I walked or crawled, but I didn't walk 100%. Yeah, because I was well. First of all, nobody taught me how to walk in the hospital. I remember I would always crawl, and then there were times when I get up and walk just a little bit and fall and then crawl. And that happened.
and you were 5 at the time.
Yeah, we had a really sweet ladies, like a grandmother. Beginning when I came there, she would actually sew things like dresses, and socks and hats. She was the sweetest grandmother. And then a few months later, she has vanished. Then we had this beautiful, tall, blonde woman, just so kind, and she was working with us. And then she vanished. And so we had other people. Then we had a night crew, because you have a day crew caregiver and a night crew caregiver. And a night crew caregiver was vicious. That's when I started to really understand what is cruelty, in my opinion.
So you left that environment in the hospital, which was terrible, right? But you didn't realize it because you were very young. So you just thought it's normal. And then you came here and you were really excited and you were happy and you were, oh, everything's new, I'm free. And then that's when things started to go a little bit pear-shaped, because this lady who was in charge of caring for you and the other children was actually a bit of a tyrant, right?
Yes, yeah, it was. Like for instance, she would punish you by not having food, and then also punish you in the evenings. But also, like when it was a bath time, she would actually drag us and throw us onto the bath. And I remember, like, I remember nurses or doctors would take the babies and just throw us into the bath. I never understood what is like clear water. I didn't know what clear water was, because I would always see bath was red.
Red with blood.
Mm-hmm. And so every time I do remember being washed, it was always with red. When our teacher, in the orphanage threw us, I connected the dots like, oh my gosh, is this like happening everywhere? Because I remember she just threw a kid, and the kid's head was open, his skull got open. She did not want us to make any sound, even breathing sounds. So she would purposely walk to our beds, like closer to our beds, and then bend down and start listening to you if you are breathing. And we, of course, learned like, stop breathing, stop making sounds. So we would hold our breaths, the longest
Really?
possible. Yes, and she would purposely listen for a long time until like she, until you start, want to take a breath. And if she hears that you took a breath, she would start smacking you with this like wooden stick. And I do remember that that happened to me. She really, smacked me so hard, and because
And you were like 6, 5, 6?
five. Well,
It was literally when you got there. Oh my.
yeah, it was happening at 5 years old and 6 years old, and I ended up in the hospital because she beat me up so badly. My stomach and my head went unconscious, and I ended up in the hospital.
She hit you that hard.
Yeah, because I was breathing.
And you didn't have anyone else there to protect you, like no other adults that were like colleagues of hers that were maybe like, hey, aren't you being a little too harsh on these kids? No one?
No, we only had like one caregiver in the daytime. But then she became like a full-time caregiver, actually. And so, no, and yeah, we were all kept separate. I didn't see, like teachers would talk to each other or meet up with each other. No, it wasn't. Even like playtime, all the kids, the schedule, like teachers, even at playtime, like playing outside, other classmates wouldn't be joining with us. It was us separately. And then once we finish playing, then next group comes and they, have their own playtime. Yeah, and one of the kids, what she did is Masha. She started to suffocate her with a pillow because she was breathing, and then I attacked her. And that was my first time. I think one of my first time is attacking an adult, because I she's struggling, and then I'm seeing like she's like loose, like now becoming weaker, and so then I attacked her. That's when I became like understanding, like. It's like, oh my God, I have ugliness in my body because I really viciously attacked her.
You were 5.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And so, yeah, and then she stopped, and Masha ended up in the hospital again because she was beat up and I was beat up. So yeah, you would be beat up.
Okay, so let me just ask you this. So you were ending up in the hospital because of this woman, and no one. How did you get to the hospital? Like no one was kind of like
I mean,
asking questions.
no, because I mean, like if I was unresponsive, and she literally hit me in the head. There is a crack there in my head, and I remember I was brutally beaten by a stick, and I was unresponsive, and so and then they check, because they would bring meals, and you have to say how many kids are eating. And if one of them is not eating, why is that? And so then they would check with teachers, but she wasn't fired. She was not fired, and so
So this was just like a negligence. This was like an acceptance of just very poor behavior. I guess people didn't really wasn't there was no standards maybe, right? I mean, come on, like, we're talking about massive corruption here. And the hospital, like in a developed nation like the United Kingdom, if you have like a crack in your head and you're a child, and there's going to be questions. There's going to be, how did this happen?
no,
What's going on at home? Like, do we need to involve? There was nothing like that, right?
no, it's a joke.
So how long did this last for? This very harsh treatment and
We had her until we moved to a different orphanage. So I don't know how, did she continue or did she leave? But I remember she was with us till the end.
how many years did you spend with that woman?
I would say 2.5 years. Yeah, it's 2.5 years. And then another thing, like the major problem that happened in the orphanage was that I experienced, and all the kids in my classroom experience, is that one night I was like sleeping, and then I felt like someone just grabbed me, and there was a man who grabbed me and just walking away from my bedroom, and I got scared. First of all, it didn't make any sense. Why you take? I think I was around 6 years old. It didn't make any sense. Why are you taking a child in the middle of the night and taking from the bedroom? And I didn't do anything. So danger, what do you call this? Whatever. I started to go crazy, and and he dropped me, and he gave up on me, and then I just like crawled back to my room, and the teacher was actually there. My caregiver, she understood it, and she didn't do anything about it, and I cried. And I cried, and I was really confused why this happened. And so from that moment, I didn't go to sleep very peacefully. I never went to sleep like the first one. I was the last one, because I, was like, oh my God, like what if it happens again, or what if it happens to my friends? And so one time I was not sleeping. I was the last one, and then I see a guy, and that was a guy who is security guy for the orphanage. Keep that in mind. And so he takes my friend Igor. And I was really afraid to like say, no, stop. First of all, kids are sleeping. And second of all, I was still a teacher, help the security. In my opinion, I think teacher also did some, playing around with children in the night, because and I remember she would be drunk too, like unresponsive and so oblivious and not aware of things. So they took Igor, and then when he came back, I stayed up till like hoping that he comes back, and they brought him back, and they left the room, and I run to Igor's side of the bed, and like, Igor, you okay? You okay? And he's like, ouch, like hurts here, and I said, what did I do? And he didn't express really why he's a child. And from that moment, because this Igor friend of mine, he was very calm, very bubbly, like just so expressive. And after this situation has happened, he started to flinch, like shake and be afraid, and always look in the back. And if I say Igor, and he would like flinch. And from that moment, I think he developed this type of anxiety. And
So they raped him basically.
yeah,
They were taking kids and they were raping the kids at night,
and then
and then they were just returning them.
mhm,
And you almost got raped, but you fought,
yeah,
but he
it
didn't.
just didn't make any sense
And
why I
they,
was leaving the room. So
oh
that was
boy,
that
this
was
is
one of
crazy.
the main tragedies. But yeah, we had good food there. I do remember that, and that's why I went crazy when the teacher would ban me from having food, because I was being a child, and maybe sometimes I didn't behave so well, didn't listen. But you don't punish them with food. This teacher would always take the loaves of bread and hide it, like all up in the shelves. In the night, in the middle of the night, Igor and I would climb onto shelves and grab the loaves of bread. She never understood who took it, and but we all were punished. But It didn't matter. Igor was like a skinny bone. I mean, he was so bony. And so it didn't matter if he was caught or not. He was always so hungry. And so, yeah, he would steal food more than other kids, like more than me. But if anybody stole anything, I always was near them because I didn't want them to get in trouble. I always want to like help.
So when you say you never had enough to eat, or a lot of times you didn't have enough to eat, like what are we talking about here? Was it like a meal that you didn't
Yeah,
get,
meal I
or
didn't get. Yeah, meal I didn't get. Well, yeah, and we were malnutrition. We didn't get enough food. I mean, because we were punished a lot. We were punished. She was an evil teacher. Yeah.
what was the worst time that
What?
you experienced with this kind of malnutrition? Like, was there a period of like, because she's a pretty malicious woman.
Mhm.
Uh, did she stop you from eating? Like, did you get skinny as well? Like, I mean, did you?
Yeah, but from birth, I think I was a very chubby kid. I was, yeah, like, so you couldn't see that at 5 years old, 6 years old, I was still like very chubby. And 7 years old, and then once I moved to a different orphanage, I started to shape, and be more skinnier. But yeah, I was a bit chubby. You wouldn't say I was malnutrition, but I was because we weren't fed all the time. So then we moved to they did IQ tests. So they told us like, okay guys, pretty soon you're going to be moved to a different orphanage, but we have to figure out which orphanage, and by doing that we had to do an IQ test, how smart you are. So we took the IQ test. I passed the first IQ test, and after passing the first IQ test, I asked my friends like, "Oh, did you guys, do well? Like, which orphanage you guys are going to?" Because they announced to you like, "Oh, you're going to this orphanage. You're going to this orphanage." So it ended up that all my friends were going to the same orphanage except me. So then there's a second test, and so the second test was, I understood that if I pass a second test, then I'm not going to be with them, and so I purposely failed everything, and they were really mad. They were really, really mad that because they knew that I was pretending. But I'm like, no, not doing that. And so I failed the second test, and we all ended up in the same orphanage.
Nice.
But we weren't happy to leave this orphanage, even how it could be. It was difficult. Again, like I'm saying, this is our home. We got used to it. This is our comfort. And so when we drove to the older orphanage, we all were like crying in that white van, and saying, "Hopefully it will be okay. Hopefully it will be okay." And that is a hit reality for us. This orphanage was even worse.
Okay, tell me about this orphanage. Like, what were the what was worse about it?
Oh my God. Okay, so having mix of different age groups of kids, we are younger kids and there are older kids, and older kids sometimes had, raped a lot of younger kids, and also
How old were the older kids?
I mean, 14, 15, 16. Kids at that time already knew about those things, and
And you were about what, 6 at this time?
7 years old,
7.
1998. Yeah, so 7 years old. Yeah, and 7 years old. And I was like again by boys. I was taken from my room, and I was an animal. I was a vicious animal. There were like heavy scratches, like open wounds. Yeah, I had to be like a wild. I'm not kidding you, like a wild animal. It's so sad. Like that was that's part of some kind of ugliness inside my body, but it's not. It's I understand why I have that. It's because that's for protection. But I had to do everything possible in my power to protect myself. And so guys gave up on me, and I ran into my room, and I was crying. I was exhausted, and I fell asleep. And then early in the morning, it was so sunny, beautiful. I quickly get up, look around my room, and there's a girl missing. Go to the bedroom where they took me, and the boys just sleeping. And Christina, and I opened Christina, and she's in blood. And there was a wooden chair. Took the wooden chair, broke that in the hallway, and smacked all the guys on their heads. And I was angry. I was really angry that my classmate, my guy friends, did not protect, to protect me, nor my, not even Christina, because even in the baby or I call it baby orphanage, I taught them the most thing you have to keep in mind is be loving, considerate, and respectful. And help each other. Consider meaning like help each other. Like we are the only ones here, like protecting ourselves. We are brothers and sisters. We should be protecting ourselves. No adults is going to protect us. We are the only answer to our protection. And so there were times that the protected, and there were times that no. and I was really, really angry. And my boys who in my classroom, even though they were so little, I understand, they didn't protect. And because like it was very strange because there were older boys mixed with our younger boys. I was really upset. And so yeah, that was a time when Christina got raped. I'm not sure if she was raped in a baby orphanage, but definitely do remember Christina was raped in the second orphanage.
Did this happen regularly, or was that just the
Yeah,
one
there
time?
was something always like there's always going on. And then and so beginning of the time when we came to the orphanage, we had this loving, loving teacher. Her name is Maria Vasilyevna, and she's older. I think maybe she's in her late 50s and or in early 60s, and but she looked like in her 80s, golden teeth, wrinkled, and all that. But I think she's in her late 50s or 60s, and yeah. And how did I learn how to walk 100%? Like by not falling down. Is I guess we beginning when we came there, we were talking back to her, being disrespectful, and Maria was saying that said to us, "You're not going to be disrespectful to me. You're going to learn how to respect elders." And that's when the first time we actually learned how to respect elders in the proper way. And so she said we had to walk up and down 20 times. We had 4 floors. When I said how did I learn how to walk, is I would crawl upstairs and roll down the stairs because I couldn't able to walk down. It was easy to crawl up, but walking down, I mean, of course, I can turn and crawl like backwards, of course, but that took a long time because it's 20 times. So actually, my mother was saying and said, "Yeah, you actually can't walk," because she thought I was making excuses, and so she held my hand and she would walk and she walked with me 20 times, like 20 times up the stairs and down the stairs. 1 up the stairs, down the stairs. 2. Her punishments weren't cruel. Her punishments, so you can remember. And so yeah, she took me, and then I learned from that moment. I learned how to walk. So that was
And you were 7
yeah.
when you were learning to walk, which is interesting because that's significant. That's very old to learn how to walk
Yeah.
because of your lack of help.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. That's in the beginning of my time, I had like ankle problems because I was walking, like I walked very strangely. But Maria Vecina taught me how to like heel to toe, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so she was amazing. She was, first of all, a full-time teacher for us. She was a caregiver and academic teacher. Then she got really, really tired taking care of us like for 8 hours, which is understandable. Then they hired a teacher, and she was a Kazakh teacher, and her name is Aysel Jamina. Yeah, she was a lot more cruel, like a mean person than the first orphanage teacher. And
Oh wow.
yeah, I mean, she would beat us. She would actually lock us. Well, me for sure, I can speak for myself. I try not to speak for others. I can give you some, but because I want them to have their own story. But for me, yeah, she locked me. It's called like the orphanage jail, and she would tie me into the metal bed that's like no mattress and just wood and a huge window. And so I would be there, sometimes 2 weeks or months there, and she would sometimes not feed me like the longest.
You would be locked up for a month or more.
Yes, yeah, and so sometimes she would give me water. My friends would actually throw food throw food towards my window, and I would sometimes I would catch it when there are times when I wasn't tied into the bed.
So she would lock you up for that long. Did she not realize that you can die when you don't? I mean,
Yeah,
like you weren't being fed. Like what?
that's why she, gave me water at times, and then maybe once or twice in a month she would give me food. But I was fed by other, kids. Oh, yeah.
How did you go to the bathroom? Were you allowed to go to the bathroom?
A metal bucket, Yes. Yep. Yep.
Seriously?
Yep. And
What about showers and cleaning and that kind of thing?
no, you won't. There's there's no such a thing. If you were locked in that place, you did not get out at all. That is their purpose. It's not making sure that you are separate from the whole world. And so yeah, so I would no taking a shower. There's no such a thing as that when you're locked in the.
What did you do to deserve that? Like what happened? Like
I
I mean, in her eyes,
went away from the orphanage, and I was working because I wanted to work. Because there were times we didn't have food in our orphanage, or there was a little bit of amount of food because the teachers would count how much, like the portions you should have, and that made me so angry. So whatever, but I didn't cry about it. I just wanted to deal with this issue. By how is by going to work, running away from the orphanage. And I work with this. I had a guy friend in my orphanage, and yeah, and we would always work in the nighttime. Would jump off. I mean, was it second floor? Not second floor. There were times when I, would jump from third floor or the second floor. But sometimes my guy friend, he's an older guy, and he already graduated from the orphanage. He would unlock the door for me, or make sure like, oh, don't close it. I'll watch over them. Actually, he would, him and I would like run away from the orphanage and go. Like I ran away from the orphanage, not so much him, because he can leave, come and go anytime. And so one night, what happened was we walk into our store where we would always work, and
What kind of work? What? Sorry,
like,
just because I need to
like
understand.
unpacking boxes, or cleaning the floor, or organizing the layout of the food, the meat, the produce, yeah, and clean up the windows. Just in like,
Any kind of job.
yes. And so we walk in, and then we hear somebody, someone is following us. And I turn, and there were three guys, and his name's Dima. And so what happened? I was like, Dima, what should we do? And he's like, don't worry, I would like you to, like run away, hide somewhere, and then I'll come back. Don't worry, I can handle them. It's like, no, Dima, please let me do it. I'm 8 years old. I have nothing in my life, in my life. You're older now. You have so much things you wanted to do in your life. Please let me handle this. Like, no, I'm not allowing you. I'm not allowing you. So, and I got angry. That's okay. And so I ran away. So it was on this left side of the street, and I ran like so far away, then turn around and hid on the bushes. Like wanting to see what's happening, across the road. But they didn't know that the guys that were following us, they didn't know that I was hiding there. And so then they attacked Dima. Yeah, they like beating him really cruel, like just beating him up like nonstop. And then next thing you know, they hung him. They hung a dead body because he was already unresponsive when they beat him up so badly. And they, stomping on his head, stomping and kicking and all that stuff. And then they hung him. And then they started to try to look for me. And I kept it quiet, but I like, holding my tears, like holding my face, like nervous, shaking, and, also looking in the back, making sure that nobody is going, come across me, because I was afraid if someone said, will come and say, hey, little girl, why are you here? While they were guys. And so I was, just also like hoping like nobody comes, nobody please, nobody comes. And nobody came. And then eventually they stopped looking for me, and they were gone. But I remember their faces. And so then I ran to across the street and ran to Dima, hugged him, and bloody. And so I ran away for 2 weeks to a month, and I was homeless because I did not want to come back to the orphanage. Well, first bloody, because I was afraid that I'm going to be blamed for. And so of course I took care of like my clothes, and would work somewhere, and then sleep in behind the buildings. Yes, and then when I was eventually calmed down.
Can I just stop you for a second, because I need to ask you about this situation with Dima. So you saw the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw the whole thing. Yes, I saw the whole thing, and that's so. Yeah, I mean, I had nightmares at that time. I mean, I don't have nightmares now, but there are times like where I have flashes, and I just have to, take breaths, write poems about it, and just go through the experience. Just not.
Why did they do that? Why
At
do you think
that
that
time,
happened?
they like because that time there were a lot of. I don't understand from my childhood perspective. A lot of Kazakh people were killing a lot of Russian people, like white people, because Kazakhs are like different color. They're more like brown and looking more a little bit like Asian. And in that time, also it was corrupt. I mean, like discrimination, racism. After because after SSR has broken and Kazakhstan became like an independent country, they were still like very angry at Russians, and so they um, try to kill a lot of kids and a lot of people, not just kids, but because I was a kid, I witnessed those things. Um, and yeah, so I ended up then I came back to the orphanage, and my teacher was really really angry because the police officers were actually looking for me, but they never could. I knew that because once you run away from the orphanage and you're not there for a couple of days, they do a search. Yeah, so I came back to the orphanage, and I was locked in the orphanage jail, and that was like, yeah, up to 2 weeks and month. And yeah, and she tied me to the bed, and she would, and there were times that she would come and give me like a bowl of water, like purposely just sliding it, and water would splash in and go on the floor. Mother, oh my god! So
Oh,
that part she did that, and she would give me, like, if she give me food, it would be moldy bread that's hard. Um, and then she would bring kids, and she said, what she trained kids to do is like, okay, guys, the teacher would say, okay, you have to make fun of Svetlana, how pathetic she is, how stupid she is. If you don't do that, you'll be punished. And so she would open the door, and she would, kids, do you have something to say to Svetlana? And and they would be like, yeah. Vadia had no problem. You're stupid, and other kids were very scared to say that. But
hesitant.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they said, you're pathetic, you're nothing, you're trash, and all that. So, and then they'll leave, and that was my,
So it was just for the woman's benefit or
yeah, she
sick.
enjoyed it. She enjoyed it. I mean, if we had a
Yeah.
good bad day. Yeah, that was it for us. Yeah, I mean, one.
Seems to be a lot of pain and suffering that is just being repeated in generational cycles, and it's disgusting, but it's also so sad to see that happening. Like a grown woman ridiculing and just berating and dehumanizing these kids.
Yeah, she tried to weaken my like spirit, because I was one of the strongest person in my classroom, like emotionally and physically, and she tried to kill that, like just continue jamming me down, and didn't she didn't succeed, because when she would beat me up, it sounds really strange, but it's not funny. But when she would beat me up so cruel, I would laugh, and I said, "What else do you have more? This is not interesting." Because
Mm.
she wanted to make sure that like the weakest, and she craved, if I wanted, like, craved if she loved when a child like begged her, like, please, please, with crying and shaking, but now it was like that. So she never succeeded in that. Yeah, another part was when she I was locked for sure for 2 weeks in the orphanage jail, when she asked Natasha and me to bring buckets full of water, and she even showed purposely how full it should be, like till like all up to the like edge of the finish. And keep in mind, I'm strong, but Natasha, her half of her body is burnt, so her half of her body is weaker than the other part. So she even picked Natasha purposely to do that. And she said, "Okay, I'd like you to bring buckets of water into the room, and if I see any splash and any speck of water on the hallway, you are dead to me." She had a really bad day. And I never wanted to treat my friends who are like Natasha, who's deaf, or Natasha, who is weak. And I treat them, equally, never treat them special because of some kind of this, you know. And I said, Natasha, today is a day where I really need to treat you as special, because I saw Jamina, and it's in a very bad place right now. In the vicious, she has, almost, yeah, she's having a really bad day. Please let me help you. Let me carry it, like water, and pretend like you carried it. No, so stop treating me like, why do you have to always control that? And it's like, Natasha, it's like, fine, Natasha, then go. I wish you luck. Please don't, try not to. And so she filled it up first, and she's carrying it. And of course, I saw Jamina is watching this, and she, of course, drops, and she even said, walk fast, and of course, Natasha being weak, and she's heavy buckets. So she drops some water, splashes some water, and I'm filling up my buckets and carrying it, and I did okay. But then I see like kids covering like around this teacher. I saw Jamina, my teacher, is hitting Natasha, like beating her up, throwing her, stomping on her head, stomping on her body, and I asked the kids, like, what's going on? First I didn't, because they were covering, I couldn't see anything. It's like, what's going on? Oh, so Jamina is like beating Natasha, and I'm like, why are you standing? Why are you standing? And I'm like, I'm afraid. Oh my god! And so I got so angry, and I pushed the kids. I'm like, get out of my side, and I attacked Jamina. I jumped on her and ripped. Oh my god! I did everything's possible to, and because I saw when I was trying to push it, and she takes Natasha, throws her on the wall, and then this splash of blood on the wall, and the crack in the head on her, and she just like flopped. But I don't even want to say, because it's just like it's too painful to even even visualize that. So yeah, that's when I talked to her, and the kids were afraid. Then I saw Jamina didn't want to take Natasha to the hospital, because she was scared that she was going to get fired.
Wait. So you attacked her What happened? No, I mean, did she fight you back,
Oh, yeah,
or?
fought me back. Yeah, but yeah, of course she fought me back, and she's like, "You're gonna get it tomorrow. You're gonna get it." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. I'm ready for it." But and yeah, so of course she attacked me. Um, and then what happened after this? Um,
So she didn't want to take her to the hospital, but
yeah, because she
then
didn't want
I
to.
guess she did go to the hospital.
Mhm. And so I took her, Natasha, and finally ended up in the hospital. And then what was it? And then I was locked in the orphanage jail for 2 weeks, and she gave me just water but no food. And no, and I would scrape the wood on the floor and like eat it, like chew it. Yeah, like or I would like play with, like bite my skin and my fingers. I tried to find ways like how I can eat because I was really really hungry. So
Oh my god.
yeah, or like metal that was cold, so I pretended like it's water, so I would lick the metal. I mean, it sounds stupid, but that's another way, like I, pretending something cold in my mouth that I wanted. And so those are a couple of things that has happened with this teacher, and there's a lot more. I mean, yeah, I mean, like even every summertime for orphans, we would go to the camp, and we had a camp next to like Muslim people, like Kazakh people. And one day, um, I really needed to go. I saw Jamina lock the door. Like all the kids were in the cafeteria, and it was a rainy day, and I really needed to go to the bathroom, and we weren't able to get out of the get out from the cafeteria because it was lunchtime. But I really needed to go to the bathroom, and she would purposely not open it for me. So the kids distracted. I saw Jamina, and then I got out, and then I walked, and we had in our camps we had bathroom like you on the ground, like you dump, you pee and poop on the, we have like a hole in the ground, and we would just go to the bathroom there, and so when I was walking, it was raining, and I was walking to the bathroom. It was a long way. I see these two guys, kind of like holding themselves on the fence and looking at me, and yeah, like looking at me, I'm like, oh, this doesn't seem like a really great idea. I'm by myself. Nobody's outside. Everybody's in the cafeteria. Everybody was in the cafeteria at that time. And there's no way if I scream, like nobody's going to hear me. And they saw the opportunity. They jumped off the fence, started to chase, and they actually did have a gun. They started to chase, but I was a very fast runner, and I know and we had cabins, so we'd like hide and like take really sharp turns, or this, and try to chase me, and they never caught me, but I would jump into the cabin and so we had metal beds, and I would try to. So what I did, because if you under the bed, because some of the keep in mind, some of the windows in the cabin were broken or were open, and so you can peek your head and look underneath the bed. You can, or themselves they can get in get in the cabin, and so I would get in the. So I got in one in the cabin, and I would hold on the metal and like dig my toes onto the metal and try to flatten my body so they don't see. If they look underneath the bed, they won't see me. And so
Uh-huh.
they didn't say, and they're like, "Come out, girl, little girl, come out. Let's play a game." And I would just be really, really quiet. And finally, hours and hours pass, and I'm like, "Hold!" And you lose a sense of like going to the bathroom. And eventually, they were gone. And there were, thank goodness, there's a bucket of water. I'm not bucket of water. There was a metal bucket, and I just pooped and excuse me, I say mine, but I pooped and peed there and stayed there the whole time until someone was coming and searching. I searched. I mean, eventually found out that I ran away.
How old were you at that time?
11? Yeah.
11.
Yes. 11.
And these were grown men,
Yeah. hmm And
and they had a gun.
uh-huh. And so yeah, and then I got in trouble. I ran away, and I said, and then I searched him, said, "Why when you killed?" And it's like, not this time. Sorry, um,
Wow.
and yeah, so those moments like that happen in that or
My God.
in like orphanage camps too.
Maybe what we can do is we can talk about the adoption,
Yeah.
how it happened, and then that experience and that. So when did that start happening for you?
Well, I actually was, first of all, when I was in the hospital, they tried to adopt me even from that moment, but never happened. And then, baby orphanage, it was silent. Nobody would come to our orphanage. And then So when I came to the second orphanage, the older orphanage, which is actually this orphanage referred as retarded orphanage, only retarded kids would go to. Clearly, yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, and when I was 8 years old, yeah, 8 years old, a director said like me and another girl, Nastya, is going to get adopted. But then I got sick and I was not able to get adopted. So I said to adopted parents, like, please take somebody else. It doesn't seem like I'm going. I don't want you to wait that long, and it doesn't seem like I'm going to survive because I was really, really sick. Like there was something going on with me. I think it has to do with hepatitis. So in 1998, I was going to get adopted. It didn't happen because I got sick, and then I made sure that, and then they asked me, "What kind of kids do you want? Like, what's the next child you would want? You would pick?" And I picked Maria, who is the sweetest, the kindest, beautiful soul. Yeah, so she got adopted, and Nisa got adopted. Till this day, I can't find them. Then, when I was 10 years old, yeah, I was I got an opportunity to go to the United States and be fostered for a month or so. And I was actually being fostered with my classmate Igor, and that was cool because if we're going to get adopted, if we're going to get adopted, then Igor and I are going to be sisters and brothers. And I mean, I love that because I always dreamed like my friends, my classmates, like if they were like my sisters and brothers. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. We didn't get adopted. The situation why is because the father. I adored the father. Oh, he was just being phenomenal. One of the main things I loved about him is that first of all, he protected us. Second of all, he every morning he wake up early in the morning and go to his garage. Not even a garage. It's like a small house. No, it's not a garage. It's like a small house he built for himself with his man thing. It's like a man cave he built himself. And he would play guitar every morning. And I would purposely wake up early in the morning just to witness that, just be in peace, be in present, just hear this beautiful, just a guitar playing. And, but the adopted mom, the foster mom was very, very jealous of the relationship that, father had with us. He was, just favoring us. But keep in mind, they also have their own 6 children, and we were going to be the 8th kids. Kids loved us all. I was like their big sister because they already have 2 older kids already out in the real world, and another ones, but whatever. They had their own the 6th and the 5th and the 6th. They were like very young. They were living with their parents, and so yeah, I loved playing with them, taking care of them. Even from the beginning, when I was a little, I love babies, I love children. I always would run to kids. I'm always surrounded by kids. For me, it's like I try to have different jobs, that doesn't involve children, and I start having, like unclear, not so much jittery, but it feels like I'm having jittery. I'm like starting to have jitters because I'm missing something. And what is I'm missing? It's children. I have to be around children all the time. So the kids loved us, but the mother didn't. She was very jealous. They had always like fights, and I'm like, no, this is not going to happen. We're leaving earlier. We're not putting up with this. I don't want them to have. I don't want their relationship to affect. So I said to the father that I'm leaving, and I said, Igor, you do your thing. But he wanted to leave with me too. And I said, we're leaving, and we want to go because we don't want to affect your relationship. And when they sent us back to Kazakhstan in the airport, we rolled our eyes. Mother wasn't there, but the kids cried. Kids were screaming, throwing tantrum. Father cried. Foster father cried, and that was just heartbreaking. And then at was it 12 years old? Yeah.
Did you ever connect with them again, or did you ever
I can't find
speak to them
I
again?
can't find them, but I will always have incredible memories of them.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this woman, the mother, will never stop me to have like a great memories of. Still, like we had so much fun being fostered. I felt really cool. Like first time I'm flying in an airplane. Yeah, I threw up, because that was the first time. And oh my god, I feel like a celebrity. Like because you're an orphan and you're nothing. You're treated nothing constantly, and then you get picked, and you not only you get picked, but you get to fly. You get to be special. You get special clothes. And you have, they cut your hair, and everything was so special. And so, of course, but I didn't act special. I still was very polite,
Hmm.
was very grateful, was very helpful. I have always, even I told Igor, like he would like play or not, be lazy. I'm like, you gotta come over here, like go help out. I was like, I didn't like to be bossy, but I did like to have people do the right things. And so yeah. What then at 12 years old, I didn't, and the director wasn't happy. So Anna, why did you decline, being adopted? I was like, I didn't like the thing, I didn't like the mother, and that's it. And then she gave me a second choice. I mean, second chance. I got a chance to get fostered again, and I went to Arizona. And right away, I didn't like my parents. Like I said from the beginning, when I look at a person, it's something, and if it tells me something's not good, it's not good. And even like when I got on the bus, I saw them right away. And the translator, well, this coordinator woman, Morgan, was bringing us to not the kids were able to choose the parents. The parents, foster parents, chose us, which I didn't like that. And I said to like Morgan, please, I mean, I was saying in Russia, please, like, can you not bring me to these parents, to these parents? It's like, like, stop annoying. And I'm like, please. And then she brought me to them, and I give them a hand. I was a very good actress too, because at that time I understood, like, okay, if I'm not going to get adopted, I will be homeless or be selling my body. I did not want to do that. Like after I graduated the orphanage, and
Okay, explain that because we need to understand what that means. So, what do you mean by that?
meaning after you graduate the orphanage, they don't take care of you. Like, yeah, sometimes you get allowance, but it's such a small allowance. It's not going to help you live in an apartment and get, have a roof over you. And so a lot of, even when I was in the orphanage at 10 years old, 11 years old, 12, lots of older girls taught, like, were trying to teach me, like, okay, Svetlana, after you graduate orphanage, this is what you have to do. And it's normal. They would actually sell themselves. We would go in the street. They wanted to show me. Yeah, so they showed me. So we would go in the street, and this older girl, of course, beautiful, 16 years old, is flirting with the guy. And then next thing you know, they're gone, and she's gone. Then she comes back with money. There you go. That's how it was.
Hmm.
And even at even younger age, not just like 16. So yeah, to make money, I make my money by working in stores, or I get paid with food. I mean, I help grandparents, like grannies. We go to their homes, and I would help them, bake bread, or clean their street, or clean their house, and then they would give me loaves of bread. Oh my god, that was amazing! Like a loaf of bread, or cookies, or candies. Ah, yeah, I was cheese special on that way too. And so yes, and I said I have to pretend. I have to pretend to that I love them, and but American father was already right away was very abusive physically, not adopted, but foster father was very abusive to me. Hit me,
What kind of things did he do?
hit me in the head, pull my ears, push me sometimes. And sometimes he, even though I didn't like, well, no, I understood English, and he would control me so much. He would. I would go to. We would go swimming, and I would swim like with my friends, and he's like, "So I get out," just for no reason. And then, okay, I get out, and then he's like, "Okay, go in." Like he would do strangest things ever. He was very controlling. So that's and he yeah, like hit me one time on the head again because I didn't listen. Because because he was being so controllable. I'm like, who the heck are you? But then I had to remember, so Anna, keep yourself together because you want to get adopted. So I had to keep my composure. And so one night they now said, so Anna, you're going to get adopted. And I bowled my eyes. It's because not because I'm excited that I'm going to get adopted by these parents. It's more like, oh my God, I don't have to be in the streets. Like, thank you. I just saved my life.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. For the rest of my life, I will remember that. I flew to the United States, and after 2 weeks of being with my family, with my parents, and let's just say that, not family, but my parents, my American father started to physically, sexually, mentally abuse me, and so that was a challenge. So every day, he would sexually abuse me, and he would purposely buy me things, and he's like, "Well, I bought this for you. What could you do for me?" And at that time,
Just so that people know what you mean, what were you made to do? Like, what kind of
um,
things was he doing?
like I would say oral at 12 years old, oral, and yeah. and or he would.
And no one knew about this. Like
All right.
his wife didn't know.
She started to do that, and then I didn't tell the mother because I already saw my American mother was weak because she's being controlled by him. How I know this because she one time spoke up for me or something, and she got smacked in the face, and I attacked him for that. But you could see that she was a very weak woman. So it was no useful purpose for me to say that because I would get beat up and I would get less privileged of things, meaning like I would be controlled even more. Because with sexual abuse people, molesters, they're already controlling. Like he was extremely controlling. And um, so I didn't tell my American mother. It was no useful purpose, I felt. So I told they have their own biological daughter, and she's in her late 40s or something. I mean, I'm not in contact with her anymore. So yeah, and when this started to happen, and I still didn't speak English, but once I learned my English language, I said to to her, can we please meet somewhere in a safe place where I can tell you something secretly? And I told her, and she didn't do anything about it. I kind of understood, like maybe this happened to her. Maybe something similar happened to her. That's why she's not.
Right. Did she have like a reaction to it, or was she just?
I mean, she's like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And she hugged me. That's it. And I'm like, well, it's not what I need, but okay. Because I don't need poor you. No, take some action. So that's probably why I don't. I'm like a beer. Like I'm a very soft beer, but then I'm also like, grizzly beer, where I take huge actions, even nowadays. So then then in school, my French, no, my English teacher, literature teacher, she's German, and it's a English teacher, yeah, and so we had to write about Holocaust, like pretend like which I didn't like the idea, but I was in a very dark place. I mean, not only that I was being sexually abused, I was bullied in school. Of course, you tend to have low self-esteem because nobody just cares about you. Nobody's saving you. So yeah, I mean, of course, I developed a weak spot is that I was allowing people to bully me, and so what happened? So teacher said, I would like you to all write a poem. It's a competition, like a poem, pretend like you in the Holocaust, and what you have read and what you have heard, because we read books about it, we discussed, and I wrote awesome poem. Detail. First of all, you asking a Russian, a person who loves poems. As a child, I was raised by, we had to learn so many poems in Kazakhstan. And you have to remember the poems and you have to create the poems. So I love that. So it was an easy task for me. So I wrote this very dark, she cried even, and I won. I won the competition, the poem competition. And then she's like, Svetlana, I would like you to talk to you after class, because there's something going on with you, And so I was like, yeah, there's something going on. And so I met with her after school, and then I told her, and she didn't do anything. Like she just heard me, didn't do anything. I don't know if she thought like I'm just being typical of a teenager, not liking I was like, oh my God. So because at that time also a lot of kids would make lies like, oh, my parents are sexually abusing me, please like get me out of this, because they didn't want to, they were so rebellious, they wanted to go parties and do drugs and drink, and I didn't want to hang out, and I lost a lot of friends who wanted to do those things. They shut me down. I lost a lot of friends. So then I told the school counselor. Yeah, I told the school counselor that they wanted to talk to me, and they're like, why are you acting this way? And I said, oh, do you really want to know? Like, do you want to know? And so I told her, and she didn't do anything. So then I told my best friend's mother how this happened. Well, I had a boyfriend. Well, first of all, he was my friend for 2 years. Him and I would take ESL class together in high school. And he always liked me, but it just kept it like, no, like declining, like not wanting to date. And then eventually I accepted, like, okay, let's date. And so then so it was we hung out together a lot, and he was good. And then when Valentine's Day, we went to the restaurant. He got me, a soft toy, whatever. And then he drove me to this very suspicious dark valley, and there were and then two guys hopped in. So I was like, oh, that's it. There's something's going to happen. Three strong guys and women, and I was very skinny. A lot of people actually mistaken me as like I was anorexic because I was really skinny. Because I think I had stomach problem and I was stressed with like what's happening in the home, and so all right. Well, this guy, my boyfriend, actually raped me in the car. They were holding me. The other two guys were holding me, and he raped me, screaming, "Please, please, don't do that!" All this time I have tried to save myself. I was trapped. Um, I mean, all these times in my lifetime, feeling so powerful, fighting for every moment. Because it happened in a baby orphanage, and happened in older, and I come here. Oh my god! And so,
How old were you at this point?
I think turning 17, 16 years old. And he was actually an immigrant. And he ran away
Where was he from?
from Mexico. He's from Mexico. So he was a Hispanic guy who did this to me.
He ran away?
Yeah, back to Mexico because he was afraid that I was going to tell about him. And he fled to Mexico. His name is Ricardo something. I forgot. There's a picture in school yearbook. But I'm not sure if I even have it because my American mother threw everything away. Once I left the house, she threw everything away.
So, oh my God, I didn't even know about that. And we've had like hours and hours of conversations. Well, I'm really sorry to hear that. It's honestly, I'm at this point, anything you tell me will not surprise me. To be honest, I mean, you've been through a lot. What? So he dropped you home?
No, he didn't drop me home because I was afraid. Because I lied to my parents that I'm going to dance with my friends, girlfriends, and but I actually went on a date. And because if I said that, and they're like, no, hell no. And so he dropped me off at my best friend's house, and I walked in, and my pants it was bloody, and I'm like crying, and I tell them like what happened, and then I told the American, my best friend's mother, also I'm getting sexually abused there. That's why I didn't come to them first. And so she knew it. She didn't do anything about it. Then, me turning almost close to 17 years old, I've had it with my American parents. I said, I'm moving out. I was realizing I'm not doing so good in school. I still wanted to do really good in school. And I'm just going down the hill. And I did not want to, for me, it was very, very scary. For me, it's not what's happening to me, like what people did to me. What was so scary is I didn't want to go to that victim mode where I would always, where I play like, for me, please guys feel bad for me. I didn't want to go to that place where I'm not worth it. I'm not smart enough because I was told you're not smart. You're pathetic, and you're just an orphan, and now you're nothing now again. And I didn't want, and so that was the scariest part for me. It's like, okay, so you have to somehow get yourself up, and you have to lose, you have to lose people. I wasn't afraid to lose them. It's just more of like, whatever is going to happen, if you move out of the house, be with your friend, you will find your job. Don't worry. So, so in February, I was moving out. I got in a big, huge fight with my American father because he wanted me to do things to him. And I said no. And then he beat me up. And it's like, that's it, I'm leaving. And so then I called my American father and I said, thank you so much for being my greatest mother in the world. Not. And I just I didn't curse at her, but I said, you're really nothing. You have really not helped me at all. I said, thank you only for adopting me. That's it. And then the phone rings at the house when I was packing, and it was my auntie. And my auntie, oh my God, Svetlana, aren't you excited to come to Florida for a family reunion? I'm like, no, I'm not coming to a family reunion. Why? And I said, because you guys were never my family, and you never will be. And I'm not going to be part of this family. I'm moving out. She's like, whoa, 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 please stop. Like, what is going on? Because they thought maybe I'm doing it for attention. And like, is something going on? I'm like, I'm not. And I said, I'm not a typical teenager. I'm someone else who, dealt with, a lot, and I'm not dealing anymore. That said, I'm moving out. So then my auntie freaks out and calls my American mother and says, what's going on, Svetlana? And then, of course, my mother says, oh, she's just being a typical teenager. Just, you have to understand her. Typical teenager. So then, my aunties called me again a couple of days later, and they begged me, please, Svetlana, please give us a chance. And I was already living with my friend. and please give us a chance. Please try to come back home. Let's have family reunion, and during family reunion, you can tell us. Please try this one more time. And I was like, fine. So I go back home, wait until the trip, and when we were on the plane, my American father, was like, just try to tell everybody about the situation. I will kill you. I would, like this. He's trying to threaten me, and it's like, no, first of all, I'm a good actress. It's like, no, don't worry. No, I love you, even though you do. I said all the words he needs to hear, even though maybe he thought it was a bullshit. Oh, excuse my language.
It's all right.
Sorry. And so, yeah, and I listen, and so all my American family out there, and we're doing things. We went to the baseball game, Red Sox with someone else. Yankees maybe, and yeah, and so my cousin, who's an American, actually is also adopted, but she was adopted from America. And she said, she was curious because she's the only adopted person in the family. And now she has another cousin who's adopted. And she wanted to ask me a question. Like, aren't you happy that, how do you feel like about being adopted? And said, nothing. I said, I'm grateful that I got adopted. And I don't need to, I saved my life, and I don't need to become a prostitute. I don't need to hustle in the street. So, and then she's like, but do you remember your family? I was like, yes. And I told her, and she's like, what? You remember all this? And so it was so interesting for her that she passed all this information to my aunties. And then my aunties questioned my parents saying, what? Guys, why haven't you tell me about it? And the father says, no, she's a filthy liar. Don't listen to her, blah, 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 blah. And so then American father got so angry at me, and angry at me, and then angry at my aunties, because they are being curious and getting in the middle of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're so controlling, you don't want nobody talking about this child or anything like that. He wants to act like I don't exist. So my American father was acting very rude, especially when we were living in my auntie's house. We could have actually been booked a hotel room, but my auntie said, no, it's okay. Like, live in my house. Like, you don't have to spend so much money. I have a big house. So he was being disrespectful. I approached him in the room, and I said, why are you being so disrespectful? Why, you're living in this house, you have food and everything's for free. You only bought a ticket to fly here. Why are you being so disrespectful? And what is wrong with them being so curious? And even though he did things to me, beat me up sexually, physically, mentally, I still spoke up for myself. I wasn't afraid like a doll. No, I still, when I have strength, I spoke up. And when I didn't, you could see. And he, started to beat me, take my head, bang it on the wall, and hit me and push me. And so then I started to attack him, and it was becoming a little bit loud, and I started to cry, and it's like, oh my God, either I'm going to run away in Florida, run away from this family right now, or either I'm going to wait until I come to Arizona, and I'm out. I'm not coming back to the house. So, my cousin caught me crying, and she brought my aunties, and my aunties waited to talk to me after everybody's sleeping because the parents were in the house. But my parents were downstairs, I was upstairs. And then I broke the chain. I told my auntie everything, and she was shocked. And then we had detectives coming. And when the detective, an officer came, like Winnie, Marsha, and Joni, and I should say, okay. But he says, Svetlana, come on. The father's like, Svetlana, come over here. I'm like, no, beep. I'm never going to listen to you again. Go, F off. And then American mother is screaming like, what did you do? Why are you ruining a family?
So the cops came to their auntie's house while everyone was there?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
To question them or to detain them?
Detain them, to take them to questioning, to a police officer.
Wow.
Yeah. And so...
So did your auntie... what was different about your auntie compared to the other people that you spoke to about this? Because they didn't do anything.
Second, I have 3 aunties. Those 3 aunties are my mom's sisters. And those 3 aunties are most loving, caring, and most, they will give you off the shoulder, what is that saying called? What the heck? Did I forget that? They'll give you anything off your, off the shoulder, whatever. And, but my mother was very tight with money. She never likes to share. She was very frugal with her money. She made excuses, whatever. And she always bought some things for herself. When she goes on a vacation, she will buy jewelry and a stupid present. I'm not asking you to buy me a present, like something expensive. But if you're going to go out of state, go to a different state, and buy me a gift. Then give me a useful gift. And that's probably why now I pay attention to gifts. Not only do I just buy a gift, I buy a gift that will be useful unlimited, like not permanently, and that will be useful for that person. And so she bought me this, and I'm like, might as well not get anything. I mean, I wasn't spoiled child, I wasn't, but my American, sister thought I was spoiled, but she didn't know that. I begged him to. I love technology. I mean, it's not like I was addicted. I just love old like technology. How like first I had Game Boy, Game Boy, GameCube, then Wii, and I just love the process, the timing of how the technology was just being invented. That's what I really love. Not so much I was addicted to playing on the phone or to watch TV. Just even TV, I had old, fat TV. I loved that. Even when my friends would come to my house, they're like, "Why don't you have like a flat TV?" I'm like, "No, I don't want that because it's old and it still played." So where was I going through this? Oh my god! Oh, so
you were saying that they were detained, and I asked you why your auntie's different, and you told me she's a nice, loving person.
Questioning, and I said, so it was my turn to be questioned, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to waste your time, and I'm not going to waste my time. Okay, here you go. I was born in a third world country in Kazakhstan. I had hell in this country, and then and I told them a couple of things. What has happened? I said, and I don't have time for this either. To win you guys. When you guys, that maybe I'm a typical teenager, and I was like, okay, let me draw a picture for you, what freaking thing it looks like, and what he did, they were just flabbergasted. Their jaws dropped, and they didn't question anything else. They didn't, beginning, of course, what's your name? This stupid process, that stupid thing, and but it wasn't scary for me, but. But for them, for my family, it was scary. Like, oh my God, it's one of traumatic things. But to me, it's not. Because that's the easiest. That was like, oh my God, I saved my life again. And so, yeah, what happened? My American parents are flying. I had to, okay, so after the questioning, my American parents were able to take me with them to fly back to Arizona. And, but my aunties hid me because I told them that if I'm going to go with them, you won't ever see me again. Meaning, like, I'll be dead. He's going to kill me. That's it, because he has nothing to lose. He's going to prison and he's going to kill. And so I was like, so they believe me. They hid me. They left they went back to Arizona, and then father committed suicide in the backyard, shoots himself in the head, and then my.
So he was going to go to jail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I was getting ready to go to the court and speak for my, what happened. But he killed himself before that.
Wow.
So, yeah. And they tried to move this process very quickly because this whole questioning happened in Florida. This information needs to be transferred to Arizona, being investigated, And so the process was being freaking slow. So whatever, he committed suicide. And then my auntie said, you should go back to living with your mom and your American mom, and maybe you will grow a different relationship without a controlling father. I'm like, no, nothing's going to change. It's not because I always looked, wanted negative things, or all this time, I know how she is. She was, never there for me. And so what happened? So when I came back to Arizona, she went dating. She went date. I'm not asking her. I wasn't asking her to be at home all the time and cook for me. But I was a teenager, and even though my life has been saved, of course, but I was still in a very dark place, and I didn't again wanted to lose myself, weaken myself, and so, and I would come home. And it was boring, and it's nothing to do. My friends are pushing me, let's go, drink alcohol or drugs or whatever. I said, no. And then, I begged my mom, like, she's like, what do you want from me then? What do you want from me? Why can't you just leave me alone? Like, sign me in sports, like school sport, after school program, like playing sports. If you want me to go in the right path, sign me in so I can be busy and play sports. No, can't do that because she was frugal with the money. We had to talk to her. My auntie and me had to push it for a month to finally freaking agree to pay for the after school program. So I can, I was like, oh my God, it's pathetic. So she paid for it, and that was my heaven. I got to play sports and get all that frustration through sports, and I built such a beautiful team. like basketball team, volleyball team, everybody just amazing. And I started to change myself. Like people started not to bully anymore, look up to me. Because I understand, like, what the like, why am I allowing someone bullying me when I won't see them ever again? And so, like, you've gone through so much, and ask yourself, like, would they handle the best you would have could? And then why are you allowing weaken yourself and in making them, make it weaker for yourself? I was like, no. And so I changed the perspective of how I'm going around my world. And so I got very, very popular in school. Um, you know, yes, I struggled academically. Academically I struggled because it's not because my IQ, because I was tested. My aunties wanted me to be tested if my IQ is very low. But I told them it's not my IQ. It's all this trauma that has happened. A human being needs time. So there are times when something like trauma happens. They are weak at something, but you can rebuild that. And so eventually they found out it's not because I'm stupid. Because I got so angry because I was placed in a retarded order.
Yeah.
Try to tell me in my face that
Yeah, that must be really frustrating.
So eventually they said no, she has no problem with that. It's just that she needs process to heal. And so of course I've got to counseling. And instead of the truth, I still have a counselor. When I need her, I will call her. But at the beginning, I used to go to counseling. My aunties are like the big supporters. So my aunties are big supporters. They're like my three mothers. And but my American mother would still like date older guys, and she dated a guy who was in 90. She was in her 60s still. She dated 90-year-old person, 100-year-old.
100-year-old person.
Holocaust.
I mean, I'm laughing because it's it's a big age difference even at that age.
And that was really.
Why was that? Why do you think that was? Because that's a bit interesting, dating a 100-year-old person.
She wanted to date somebody that a person who won't have the strength to control her, but have a strength to take care of them. I mean, she does like she does like someone like to take care of, and so she loved that kind of attention. The way she gives them attention by taking care of, and then they say like you're amazing, and she's just very sick in her mind. But I mean, I don't just like I don't hate anybody. I'm not hating on her. We always struggled with relationship. So then I moved to Atlanta. Wanted to have a new life after I graduated high school. I moved to Atlanta and wanted to have my new life. And my auntie is the one finally at 19 years old. I think I was 19 years old. She finally taught me because I never understood what is unconditional love means and loyalty. And she's the one who taught me what is unconditional love and loyalty. And it's so sad I had to wait for 19 years to feel that, because all this time I felt I was nothing. And I didn't even understand what really love, like no existence in my head. Like I can guess, but it's not worth it. I didn't even guess what it was, because it just, like a word doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. You don't think about it. So, and she's the one who really taught me what is then there's something still missing. I'm like, I still wasn't feeling. I went to college and went to to school, and I was like, okay, I need something. And then it came to be summer, and I said, you know what, I'm going on a trip. I went on a birthright trip and in Israel for 3 months, and that was most incredible trip I ever taken for myself. And that's when I really understood what really happiness is, and understood what life is meaning too. Because I met so many.
Where did you go? Where did you go?
When I was 22 years old, I think. I was 22 years old.
Where did you go?
22. Like when I was 22 years old, in the summertime.
Sorry, but where? I meant where?
In Israel, like Tel Aviv, all these areas. And that was amazing. I got to meet really incredible people. I went on a volunteer work, met people from all over the country. And that's when I started to really look at life in a brighter way, and understand, like, stop with excuses. Really, it's just craving for attention. Get it over yourself. Things will just happen naturally for you, where you good things will happen to you once you start looking at bright side. So yeah, that's what I did. but then something again is missing. I'm that type of person. I'm very curious. I want to know why. Why did I? How this happened? How did it come from Kazakhstan now and in Israel and like where I'm from? And so before I wanted to find my biological family, I went counseling, and then at 25 years old, I found my biological family. And then,
How did you do that? That's quite an accomplishment.
yeah, so I hired an investigator. And keep in mind, I've done a lot of searches for biological family. For some reason, I couldn't find my biological family. So I hired an investigator, and he found my family quickly. And
How long did you want to do that for? Like, have you always wanted to do that since you knew that you were an orphan?
oh
Or
yes, yeah. I didn't tell you like yeah. I mean, once I started to read, once I was able to read, and one time when we were getting shots, like when we came to the orphanage and we had to take some shots, and they give you documents to hold, and so in the document it said like your parents' names, and yeah, so I read in your birthday, and that's when I found out like, oh, I have a birthday. I was born in this time, because I only found out when I was 7 years old. And so at 7 years old, as an orphan, we were able to go to different places, circuses, museums, opera, and like to the parks, at roller coaster parks and zoo. And so every time we went to a public place, I would approach to families, whoever I see, mom and dad, and ask, are you eating a blah, blah, blah? Are you a Slav, blah, 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 blah? I would say my parents' name and ask everybody. And yeah, from even the beginning when I started to, I was very curious, and couldn't find it. I couldn't find it, and I always wanted to find him. And then, but I wanted to heal myself before I find my Russian family, because I didn't want to be angry at them. I wanted to accept, and if I find them and they, disown me, then I would be okay with it. I was working with my counselor about this, and so I found my, Russian family, and my investigator came to my mom's house because my parents used to live in Kazakhstan, but they migrated to Russia because there was a lot of killing going on in Kazakhstan. Kazakh people were killing a lot of Russians. My mom can tell you, like my Russian mom can tell you, because she remembers all this too. So yeah, they went to Russia because they didn't want their kids to be dead. Because my mom and my dad has 4 children without me, and so investigator approaches to my mom. He came to my house, to my mom's house. It was grandmother and my niece and my mom were at home that time, and yeah, at that time, and the investigator says, "Oh, are you eating a blah blah blah?" And he asked like, "Did you used to have a daughter?" She's like, "Yeah." So Anna, what about and she said, "Well, she's dead." And he's like, "No, she's the one who actually sent me to you to support you."
wow,
And she dropped on the floor, started to cry, couldn't believe it, and saw pictures of me, read a letter that I wrote to her, and then right away I said, "Dear mom and dad," because it's still on my parents, despite of like, I didn't see. The thing is like, maybe people will say, "Oh, you wanted to search for your parents, maybe to see if you could have had a better life." No, even from the childhood life, I was curious. I was always searching for my biological family. So
mm.
then my mom, hears about me, and all my siblings heard about my dad. And then my dad, he said, "I think they did experiments on her. They're trying to figure out what happened to me." And then after Skyping with them for like a month, because I found them in September and he dies in October. On the what?
Oh my
August,
God, really? Again,
and he gets
this
killed.
is crazy.
My Russian father gets killed by
Gets killed. He doesn't just die like from natural causes. He gets killed.
yeah. He was fishing, and there were 3 guys who were beating him up. Yeah, they were like drunk, or like they were on drugs or something, and they were fooling around, and they wanted to torture. Yeah, because they were.
What the hell is going on? This is
He died right after that. Yeah.
so. Did they get
Um,
like found guilty or?
yeah, they are in prison for 1 year, or maybe they're already out. I mean, not meaning like, they said like, oh, 1 year, but I think they got out even earlier than a year. I mean, really, there was no strict punishment for that. Not in here in Russia. Mm-mm. So I was really, really mad. But I still have to keep I still had to keep my life going. Living. I visited my Russian family. It was incredible. My auntie from Germany and my cousin came to Russia to see me, and it was awesome, an incredible feeling ever. but I had one sibling, which is my sister, who's very jealous. Because keep in mind,
Why is she jealous?
because she's the only girl in the family for how many years? 30 something years. And now this in American, like, I don't know, how would you view me as? And yeah, I came to the family. And now not only she is a girl, I'm a girl. And I'm the
Right.
youngest one. And
Right. I
so
see.
until this day, she's jealous of me. She causes so much problem. Um, so I'm not in communication with her because it's not worth to build a relationship when she's just very cruel too. She's disrespectful. She can be violent to my mom and to me. So I was like, bye bye. Don't need you.
Mm.
I don't care if you're related to me or not. So from this experience of understanding like adopted family and not adopted and biological family, I don't care who you are, if you're adopted or biological or whoever you are. The most thing counts is it's not it's not the biological or adopted. Is what counts is your family could be your neighbors, your family could be your best friend, your family could be even a child, and
Mm-hmm.
so it really doesn't matter. That's one thing I've learned in that. And then so during the time me visiting back and forth with my Russian family, I always my sister would always attack me by fighting with me, arguing with me, being stupid. I don't deal with that. While my American mom found a guy, older guy in his 80s, and I never really felt comfortable with him. And then she breaks the news, says, "Oh my God, Svetlana, um, I I wanted to. We are getting married, and would you like to be in my wedding?" It's like, yeah, sure. But this man who was getting married to my mom, he gives me a letter, and that letter says, "Svetlana, don't be angry at me. I'm not that kind of person anymore." But he said, "I have sexual abuse." In the letter says, "I have sexual abuse children, and I am listed as a sexual predator." And keep in mind, he was in prison like the day when this news when broke the news, he was already in prison like for a year, in jail for like a year ago, and then I said, "Are you joking?" Like to my American mother, "Are you really joking?" So you found the same guy what we from a guy we a man we ran away from, and you are getting the same one. And I was like, wow, you're out. I said either you getting rid of him, no wedding, or you lose me. She begged him.
What is that? Is that like a cycle of behavioral like pattern
Yeah,
that she's kind of drawn to?
yeah, yeah. Like it's like for others, if you being sexual abuse, you will probably be sexual abused by um, you'll be sexually abusing others. Like, actually, I asked my adopted father, were you abused? Like, were you abused? Were you hit? Were you sexually abused? And he said yes. And so he passed it on to me. I was like, well, it's not. It's going to stop right there. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
so, yeah. So I got courts with my American mother, and I'm not. I don't hate her. I really feel bad that she is sick in her mind. You know, it doesn't sometimes hurts me, or like that we're not in a communication when things are happening. Like she's having her birthday very soon. She did have stroke. I did reach out, like not through her, or not. I reached out through like my aunties, making sure that they pass on the information that that I still care, but I don't have any communication with her. No reason to give respect for. First of all, I saved your life, and then I saved my life, and then all the things I went through, and this is respect you gave me. No, because as a child, I do remember saying, once I grow up, one thing I would make sure is to respect myself. Make sure I will control myself and give myself a better life than all the people who taught me opposite. So,
Mm.
and now I decided to live in Russia, and I'm really really loving it. I'm working here, in an
Mm-hmm.
apartment. I just get to visit my family, get to help, do my thing, and then now I'm working on my new project. Is by helping worldwide orphans. Hopefully in the future get them adopted, and I want to work.
How does that work? Tell me about what you're doing. Like, what? How do you help the
Well,
orphans?
so first project will be like we want to do. I'm working with my retired orphanage director. Her and I will be working together. We want to go back to our country and help the orphanage by renovating, making it better. Meaning like give them better energy, like solar system, fix the water system. So because government provides certain amount, but not enough at all. And so the director has to somehow pull the money out of wherever is available. And that's why, like I said, like when I was in an orphanage, we didn't sometimes we didn't have food. It's because we didn't have enough money even to pay for electricity or for water or whatever. And so what happened? Yeah, so I want to, with my director of the orphanage, her and I will be working with multiple of orphanages, fixing them. That's our major thing. And then creating education, better curriculum. Then after school programs to keep the children busy. Have another program where kids learn new skills, like real world skills, like especially for graduate orphans who are about to graduate, they will be learning. Teach them how to apply for jobs. Give them opportunity already. Make sure they able to drive a car, able to work with programming, or just that, so they can be successful and have provided money to send. Let them have living in apartments. It's like almost like a hostel, like where you can live with groups of guys, and you just pay certain, girls a certain amount of allowance, but you have to take care of the facility. And then because Kazakhstan and Russia have banned adoption, and I don't think it's the right solution. So hopefully,
Why did they ban adoption?
because they were, which is true. Um, some Americans have adopted Russian kids, and they killed them and molested them and did experiments on them. Something in California. I have to find out, and I can send it to you if you like. So they banned adoption after this situation. But there's so much going on in this country and all the country that banned. This is like nothing compared to what they do even. So it makes me really, really upset that that is the solution they think that will help them. No, that just makes it worse because economy.
Yeah.
And
Now there's nowhere for them to go.
Yeah. So my project is making renovating orphanages and soon changing the law about getting the kids adopted internationally. Like send them to other countries, not the country they live in.
Do you want help with this, or are you?
I do. I need as much help as possible because this is what I'm dealing with. It's I'm grabbing not just this amount. It's a huge. It's not even a measurement. Like it has nothing to do with measurement. It's just that you're working with a system that is so screwed up. And I am the young person, very giving person. But I have talked to a couple of important people, and hopefully they will continuously communicating with me. But I would need as much as help as possible. I mean, I already have all like organized what types of help I need, and how all this help it will play, like what will play first, and what So yes, I mean, I can give you definitely contact information for you.
What would that be? Would that be
My email,
an email address?
my phone number for WhatsApp.
What's the email? Should we say that now?
Yeah,
let's get that's.
My email is svetifamily5@gmail.com. So I'll spell it. It's SVETI and then family, and all this in lowercase. After family, 5 and at gmail.com.
Yeah, I think if you can get some support with that, it will make it a lot easier for you to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea to help those. And I'm actually thinking about doing it now as well, to a certain degree. I think a lot of the world's problems are solved by helping those who are, underprivileged and going through developmental crises. If we can help these people,
little children, our children are the future, and it's so sad because they are not. They can't control anything. It's so pathetic. They've taken innocent children, and what is happening to them is a most devastating thing for me. And that is why, if I can do one simple thing, that's all I need. I know I can't save. It's unrealistic. I can't save all the children, but if I can just save one, and that child just follows and helps the next. Oh my God, be my guest. Please do it. But yeah, it's really, really sad.
The story that you've shared with me is just absolutely incredible. Honestly, it's something that I don't think most people have ever heard in their lives. So I really genuinely appreciate having met you and being able to learn about this and being given like the privilege to be able to write about it and create content about it, because I want to help people understand what's really happening in the world. Like I said before, it's kind of like there's like a bubble, isn't there? And rich people, wealthy people, people who are in developed nations, they don't see this, and we need to know how bad it is so that we can help. So thank you for coming on and talking about it with me. I really appreciate it. You've been such an amazing guest, and I just hope you get all the help that you need.
I'm hoping, and hopefully it will come true, all this. So that's my dream right now, and I'm going to keep on holding that dream. And I'm already in that process, so that's really, really great. And thank you so much for giving me time to speak, and inviting me to talk to you. I'm very, very grateful for that. So I really appreciate it, Clement. Yeah, and hopefully people will understand and not feel sorry, but show some actions. I don't mean any sorry.
Right.
All I'm asking, please help the next generation.